Okay, it appears we're live. Sorry for the delay here. I still a little new to starting web streaming when I'm also presenting. So thanks for bearing with me on this. Okay, so 2021 is the year that we're aiming to elevate Telos from the grassroots project it started out as in 2018 to its future as one of the leading blockchains in the world. I'm Douglas Horn. I'm one of the many people who work on Telos every day. Officially, I'm really just one of the 21 block producers or validating nodes elected by the Telos token holders. But I'm also an independent developer and a member of the Telos core developers, and I'm probably the world's biggest Telos fan. What I'm not, though, is I'm not on the Telos Foundation board, and I'm not any kind of official representative of Telos. That's not really possible on a truly decentralized network. So I'm here just really to share my experience with the Telos community about how Telos has grown over the first quarter of this year from, say, an expert observer with really good access. Uh, I personally believe that not having official representatives is not a reasonable excuse for the low transparency that occurs in many blockchain projects. And part of elevating Telos is improving its accountability to stakeholders. So I want to be clear, though, this is not financial advice, and anything I say about what I hope or think or expect to happen in the future is, of course, impossible to know because I'm not psychic. All right. When I say that this is a year we will elevate Telos, I'm specifically talking about a few things. Access, making it easier to get Telos accounts, tokens, and apps. Ease of use, making Telos a great user experience for everyone. Visibility, making sure people all know what great tools we have and how we can help improve their lives. Sustainability, of course, we need to make sure that both Telos and our world are around forever. Uh, Professionalism, taking organizations like the Telos core developers and the Telos Foundation and staffing them up now with full-time employees. And also engaging more with professional organizations so that we can extend our reach. Things like reaching out to the Government Blockchain Association and other industry groups. So you're going to see our efforts in this direction throughout the presentation. Okay, so this is really intended to be a tech report, not finance, but the biggest Telos initiative of the quarter was actually been the Telos Uniswap Liquidity Improvement Plan, or TULIP. So I can't really talk about this quarter without talking about that, so I'm going to talk about it briefly. We started out the quarter with Telos price of around 1.6 cents, and it had been there for many months. That price over the course of this quarter hit a new all-time high of 36 cents shortly before the bounce sale that was part of TULIP. But as often happens with these sales, the price dropped somewhat afterwards to 15.8 cents by the end of the quarter. That's pretty much a straight up 10x during the quarter. If we could do that every quarter, that would be great. So I'm really pleased with that, even though we're not constantly trading at our all-time high. Like, it's hard to do. But our daily trading volume actually rose from around $20,000 per day at the start of the quarter to over $1.25 million on the last day of Q1. And in fact, for 14 of the last 18 days since the Uniswap trading started, the average daily total volume of trading for Telos has been over $1 million. All together, and we've got liquidity pools on both Telos with T swaps and Uniswap, and they add up quite a bit. Altogether we raised about 1.75 million. That's my understanding. So much of that has already been put to work in liquidity pools. Of course, we are saving plenty for the centralized exchanges that we're working with, but we're also trying to make as much of that money go to work as possible for making Telos better and a better experience for everyone. So Telos combined some of the Ether and Bitcoin assets that we had acquired during the sale, and we also paired them with matching Telos from the Telos recovery account. So because we have a good amount of Telos, and so that helped maximize, basically double the liquidity we could add. Other liquidity providers have now come in and put their own funds in order to get rewards from things like farming bad on Ethereum or T-swaps on Telos. I cannot say a lot about exchanges. I know everyone wants to hear about exchanges. I can't say a lot of them because the first thing you do when you start talking with exchanges is sign a non-disclosure agreement saying you're not going to talk about your exchanges you're in process with. So there's a limit to what I can say. I can say a couple things. First of all, we have added Uniswap, as you know. We added MXC recently. That's going great, especially because of the trading competition that we had there. And more exchanges are going to come. And if you're in the Telos chats saying we want this, we want that, we absolutely are listening. We want the same ones. And I think you can intuit what you want from that. But I don't think it's going to be a lot of surprises for people when those come out. But there's one thing I can tell you. You know, it's not fun if we don't have any surprises. So here's a cool announcement I get to make right now. Probit Exchange has been a really great partner for us, and they're expanding their Telos listing in two ways. So first, they've opened up trading for ERC Telos coming from Ethereum, in addition to native Telos coming from the Telos chain. So now both kinds of Telos tokens will be traded on a single USDT Telos trading pair on Probit. And you can deposit or withdraw your tokens to or from either chain that you want. And that's actually what we're trying to push for in all our exchange listings from here on out. Not everyone's going to be able to accommodate that, but I'm excited that I think a lot will. So the other part of this announcement that's really cool is Probit is now also listing Telos Korean Won, so that trading pair, and that has fiat onboarding in South Korea for the won currency. And that, you know, South Korea is a very active crypto community, and we've only just started to address it. And so Probit's helping us with that. There's going to be trading competitions and other kinds of marketing and things like that. Very excited about that, to be honest. It's really cool. It opens up new doors for us, and that starts right now, today, if it hasn't started already. Okay, so let's talk about what we should be talking about, which is the Telos Tech Roadmap. It's a very ambitious plan to expand the great features that Telos already has and to build some entirely new and unparalleled features. And so we're gonna go over these and talk about them pretty much one by one. All right. So the first one is the T-Bond NFTs. They're a new DeFi product on Telos that we use very successfully to help stage the TULIP plan. As I said, they were really successful. We raised over $250,000 in BTC with them, which is a lot, and especially when you're selling, instruments that are not going to be able to be cashed in for 2 years, even in some cases. So the development process on T-bonds, which is again an innovation that we've done here on Telos, it included a lot of people, and we should credit some. And I hate if I forget anybody along the way. It's not intentional. I am just trying to give a good presentation. So first of all, I want to thank Craig Branscombe, who took the Marble NFT standard that he'd already created and expanded it so that it would be able to hold not just Telos but any kind of token. And that's important because we want this to be a fundraising vehicle for other projects. That's actually the most important part of it. Because we used it once, but we think that others are going to come in and use it thousands and thousands of times, just like ICOs. I want to thank Syed Mahdi of Persian Telos, who built a new section in the Area X NFT exchange. Vilay Sundel from CryptoSuvi, he audited the smart contract, and a lot of people in sort of the core working group, Suvi Rinkinen, Justin Guidici, Jesse Schulman, definitely, Sukesh Kumar, others, all, and of course, Rory Mapstone. Everybody really put a lot of work into that. In fact, it was a lot more time consuming than we had originally planned, and that pushed us back on a couple things that I'll talk about shortly. But it's a great new platform for fundraising, and I think a lot of projects are going to be using it. We've had them already coming into us and expressing interest. It's going to be interesting who's first. For Q2, my goal is to have at least 2 new projects to go through the pilot project on T-bond sales, and for us to use that to make really good expanded documentation so that nobody needs us to hold their hands to do it. It's just a no-brainer. When we have that, I really think that people are gonna come to Telos for T-bonds, whether they're a Telos project or not, just to raise on Telos, because it'll be one of the best ways to raise. It really solves so many problems from the old ICOs of so the 2017 era. All right. One of the big problems of access is always downloading and maintaining wallet apps, right? You got to download them. It's now there's a new feature, but you have to download it again. I love Squirrel Wallet. It's done great development. In fact, it added features so we could accommodate the T-bonds. If you've got the latest version, that's there. But that's in Squirrel, and you can trade BTC. You can do a lot of things. That's fantastic for a downloaded wallet. But in order to make this really, ready, real world ready on Telos, which is what I like to say a lot, we got to address the fact that, that downloading these wallet apps is a friction point for a lot of users. So for a long time, we wanted to create a really easy to use but powerful web wallet that anyone can access from any browser or mobile phone. And this quarter, the Telos Wallet team, led by Justin Guidici of Infinity Block, not only launched this, but it added a lot of additional great features like in-wallet trading and things like that. One great thing about web wallets is there's really no need to download new copies every time, so they just get pushed every time you access the wallet. You're going to get whatever the latest features are. That's pretty cool. We also put this together with Telos Sign, or what also called Sign In with Telos, which is a really easy to use signing utility that lets you connect to a dApp without necessarily having to download something more powerful and but also a little bit more intimidating like Anchor or Squirrel Wallet as a signer. Telos Sign is really simple. I'm going to show you, in fact, in a second. So that came from a piece of open source code called KeyCat that was actually created a couple of years ago and then abandoned. And there were breaking changes in later versions of EOSIO software that made it not worthwhile, and the project, no one was updating it. So really sort of Jesse Schulman led this desire because this is just sitting there ready to be used. So Jesse and the TCD updated this. It's able to work again. It's really great for Telos, but it's also, of course, this is open source software. So we've contributed this to the entire EOSIO community, updating that and continuing the work of KeyCat, which was great. Let's take a look. It's possible my computer will crash, so I hope not. Okay, so here we are at Telos Wallet. I'm signing in. Obviously, I've already set up an account, but you can import an account real easily. If you want to learn how to use it, there are links. So let's just sign in because I've already set that up. Here I go. I sign in. Boom. My Telos Member 1 account is there. It's looking at it's quickly grabbing, that quick. It grabbed all my tokens. And I can go and buy Telos from MoonPay. I'm not gonna because I have a pretty good amount right now. I can do trading, swapping in wallet, right? This is a great feature. So if I want to just go, I can go to TSwaps and do this, but I can also do this directly from the wallet. This is how we make a better experience for people. So I'm going to change 100 DRIC to 5.5 Telos. How do I do it? Well, here's my sign, Telos Sign. Just click. All the information's there if I want it, but I don't have to, be, it's less intimidating. So then there we go. I'm going to send 1 Telos to my other account. And in the next quarter, by the way, we're going to be adding a lot of new features that are very exciting. There's going to be avatar pages that you can do directly from here. There's going to be all kinds of, oh gosh, so many things. Justin's really excited about adding features and features and features. Telos governance, for example, things like that. Here you can see my collectibles. This is a T-bond that I have, one from the Genesis, the test ones. That's not a regular one. That's one we tested with. I think it has like 10 Telos in it. I can browse different dApps. Here I'm signing into Piranha, where I already have an account, and it just signs me right in. Pretty cool. And we're going to be adding more and more of these, adding more and more dApps here. This is something you probably know if you remember Link's wallet or Wax Cloud wallet. This is the Telos version. Here's my avatar. This is based on something called Telos profiles, which is set up here, but you can't add them yet in the wallet. But what's cool about profiles, and by the way, you'll see that says that image is stored on Imager. Soon it's going to be stored on dStor. So what's cool about profiles, by the way, is you set up a profile and it can be used by everything on Telos. And we can add, batches and gamification and things like that. I'm very excited about that. Okay, this is not my favorite slide because this has been a big project to put together. But I want to tell a little bit about, the Telos Decide. It's a really phenomenal piece of software that's really not getting used as much as it should. So this is a pretty common shortcoming at Telos that we really have to admit and then elevate past this year. We've created a lot of tools, but we don't always put in the ease of use that allows these tools to be visible and accessible to everyone for mass adoption. They're not quite real world ready. And we need to make that a priority, and we're going to. This is a priority. We've identified it, and now we're going to walk the walk. So Decide Voter is a really good example. It's the first mobile interface for Telos Decide. GoodBlock is working on this in conjunction with Kyle and Hurt from Telos Crew. Decide Voter extends a lot of the features built into Telos Decide that are still rarely used. The MVP that will come out in Q2 will include full voting and proposing for standard Telos core governance like block producer voting and Telos Works proposals and Telos Amend. But the real advantage is that Decide Voter mobile app will be the first way to really make easy creation for new governance groups, like for real businesses like clubs and tribes and unions and all kinds of things, DAOs and DACs that can use it. So this is going to make that ease of use so much better, and it's also going to help the visibility. And we're going to be adding features over and over to this until it becomes really the first full-featured way to take advantage of everything that the Decide governance engine offers. Like there's committee management tools, there's all kinds of things, there's all kinds of ways to vote, and they're accessible from smart contracts for developers, and they're being used. But what Decide Voter is going to do is make it easy for anyone to use it and anyone to vote on it. I'm super excited about this. I wish I had the screenshots here. There's not a lot of that. Okay, so dStor. A lot of people want to talk about dStor. dStor is running a bit behind. I know everyone was expecting it to be launched in Q1. I did too. But there's a lot of unanticipated extra work on the TULIP plan, and on Telos EVM, and we decided to prioritize Telos EVM. We're working on both projects, but there are some people working on both, and so we put them all in EVM. So, but we're really making great progress, and we even have a few kind of things to show off. So permanent content is now able to be stored on dStor. That means that data is available from our gateways, and even when we advance from our current testnet, it will still be available in the future. And this means that if you were to go and store assets for an NFT on dStor now, for example, they would still be there when the full system is brought online. That's cool because now you can kind of start using it. More on that in a sec. So we're going to be making a public version of our dStor development checklist soon. That's up for EVM. People are happy to see it. It's similar to what we're doing there. It's a concept that we brought out really for the Telos mainnet launch back in 2018, where we launched things by checklist. That's the right way to go. Q1 was a projection. We're going to launch it by the checklist, but we're also going to surface that checklist so everyone can see it. But let's we don't have nothing. We actually have kind of cool stuff. This, by the way, is the dStor website, dStor.cloud. Feel free to go there and check it out. There's pricing. There's all kinds of stuff. There's areas of information, documentation, FAQ. It's a website. You've seen a website. I'm not going to be there a lot. Okay, so let's go look though at how you would use it. So this is our testnet interface. So if you wanted to request an invite, you can do that here. If you want to be a storage node, you can do that here. I'm just going to log in, and here I'm logging as a user. So here's a asset. I click that. That's not on my local drive. That's how fast it grabs assets. That's real. So it's a real actual improvement. I'm moving around file systems. IPFS doesn't inherently have file systems, so we've built a directory system, and that's actually kind of a big deal. All right, so I'm dropping in an asset, the dStor logo, and there it is. It was loaded before it even said. Here it is. It's now, that delivery was not again from local. This is on other servers. This is the real thing. All right. So we also have an API up at api.testnet.dstor.cloud. It's built in Swagger, which is great. Swagger is a way to document and provide a test interface for developers. Developers can do all of these things, right? It's a documentation, but they can also go through and actually just test them if they have a key. So they can go and authorize this. They're just going to, in my account section, I'm just going to grab that key, which I will delete as soon as this thing's over, and replace. Okay, so you just put that in. It's pretty simple, and then I'm authorized to do any of these actions. So now let's do something kind of fun. Right? Remember I said that these are going to be persistent, right? So I'm going to grab the dStor logo. I just grabbed it. I just grabbed the URL for it. And this is Area X NFT, the NFT creator. Soon you're going to be able to do these in the awesome Telos wallet. I mean, it's all starting to come together. You can see it. Okay, this is the first NFT ever on dStor. There it is. You see api.dstor.cloud. That will be there in the future. I'm going to drop to Telos to mint it. Again, using Telos sign. I hope it's kind of looking like this might just be a cool, easy network to use more than it has been in the past. I am not perfect at navigating Area X though, so I know that I have to go over here. By the way, this has really come a long way. I really got to take my hat off to Persian Telos. You guys should be voting for those guys. One of the reasons I mention this is because voting is very important on Telos, and it determines who's running the network. And my hope is you can vote for anybody you want, but my hope is that when you hear about the people who are doing the work, you will vote for them because there's a small number of people that are really doing the work. Okay, so here's my first NFT ever. There's no offers for it. Let me make one. Okay, I'm going to sell this. There it is. I'm going to set a price. How about 10,000 Telos? No, you know what? Not only can I use Telos, but I can use any of these new assets that have come on Telos, which is so cool, right? So, sorry. So. There it is. I'm going to make it a public sale in P Ether 10. It's going to be a very expensive one, but hey, there can only ever be one first NFT on Telos. So let's say if people are willing to do that. Okay. There we go. Setting up. Again, same thing. Click the button. It's all there if I want to make sure, but yeah, it's done. Now that's for sale. I pre-recorded these an hour ago, so I don't know. Maybe somebody has already gone in and bought that for 10 P Ether. I don't know. I think it's still probably there though. Okay, so I'm really psyched that I was able to do this demo of the dStor console and all the things you can do there. I'm gonna move on to talk about EVM because I know everyone is super excited and really wants to know what's the story with Telos EVM. Again, obviously we didn't launch on, Q1 is over and we didn't launch as we had projected, but it's going great. And, this is doing something that's never really been done before in this way, and it just takes longer. But the progress we've made is actually great. So on the current implementation, we have a lot of things that we just didn't have when Q1 started. We have MetaMask integration. We have history indexing. We have a working block explorer. I'm going to show you all these things in just a second. We have working gas and RAM billing. ERC tokens are deployed on it. The Uniswap contract is deployed on it. Our initial documentation is done. We have a developer faucet, and of course there's the public launch checklist, which it would be great if we were updating that every 5 minutes, but it goes in chunks. So we will probably do another update on that pretty quick, and you'll see we've done a lot. So on the checklist, which is going to be updated in a second, eventually, which will be updated. So we're nearly done actually with milestone 1, and we're also ready to check off some really big things on milestone 2. And once milestone 2 is complete, that's the next step is actually to deploy to the mainnet. So one great thing is, we think that a lot of the unexpected gotchas that we've been dealing with have gotten us already. You never know. There could be some. We always hope that they're not anymore, but we've gone through a lot. Don't want to get overconfident, but I'm excited about it. So this has obviously been a group effort, lots of people, but lately, for the past several months, Jesse Schulman of Kalios has really done the bulk of the work on this for the past several months. Last several weeks, Igor Silva of Rio has made major progress in creating a history solution and the first block explorer for Telos EVM. And that's based on their awesome Hyperion technology. Miko Otama was brought in by Suvi and as a consultant, and he just has so much experience that he brings. He's a real OG in the crypto and Ethereum world, and he's helping us to view these tasks that we want to do from the eyes of the Ethereum developers that we want to attract. We want to attract high-end developers, not just anybody kicking out a DeFi coin. We want to attract them too, but we want to bring on big things. I would like this to be on Etherscan, right? I would like to have some big projects come in and use, and deploy on this. And so he's helping us. That's part of the elevation in professionalism and ease of use that we've been striving for this year. So one of the tough things to solve has been how to charge for resources on Telos when they don't really map closely to how Ethereum works. We have RAM and CPU and kind of matches to storage, but it's not built in, right? So this is something this is one of the big things we had to fix or find solutions for. And the good news is that the Jesse has recently solved that, and I think our costs are going to be just as incredibly cheap compared to Ethereum, but without creating potential exploits on the Telos chain by people spamming it. In fact, these are going to raise a little bit of money for Telos to support the network into the future, so that we don't have to give up free basic transactions or result in inflation once our reserves are gone. So I'm very excited about it. Now, in order to be able to launch, the big things we still need to complete are further documentation, contract ABI importer, developer tutorials, Ethereum, and run the Ethereum test suite. By the way, a lot of those tests have already been run and passed, and we're just going to do it again with the changes. So it's not like we're starting from scratch on that. We want to do an advanced block explorer. Now I know you're like, well, what's the basic block explorer? Well, I'm going to show you that in a second. We want to add some of the common contracts, like the Gnosis multi-sig contract. And there's certain contracts that are just used by a lot of things on Ethereum, like the Aragon governance contract. A lot of things kind of connect to those and are using them, or oracles or whatever. And for Telos EVM to be useful, we want to add those things as well. And then finally, we want to connect the direct P network bridge to Telos EVM. P network's awesome partner for us. They've already agreed to do in addition to the regular Ethereum to Telos bridge, they're going to do an Ethereum to Telos EVM bridge. Very exciting, because it just makes it a much more accessible, visible, and easy process for people to come in who are coming from Ethereum. Okay, so I promised you I would give you a look. Again, these videos have not crashed my system yet, but they did when I was practicing. So I'll be back if I need to be. Okay, so here's Hyperion. Really the great browser. And what are these things? What are these OX accounts? What are these and transaction hashes? Well, these are on EVM. Browsers are not often that exciting, but I think this is kind of exciting. So here we are. When you're in Ethereum, you have and use MetaMask, you have your accounts. I have set up the Telos EVM account. This is the one connected to Jesse's thing at Kalios, and here they are. We've got our Telos, which acts as Ethereum Ether on this as a base token, but then I've got a ERC20 token there called LOL token. I am an LOL millionaire. So let's send some stuff. Okay, so I'm going to send 10 Telos to another account. Gas, who cares? Who uses it? I just leave it at 0. What it's going to use is set up the minimum amount of gas. It looks like it's taking a while, and I'll show you this in a second. But that's not it was done. It was done 10 seconds ago. It's just that MetaMask doesn't update all that fast, because typically MetaMask, Ethereum's so slow it doesn't need to. So it actually happens much faster than MetaMask sees it happening. So let me go here. I'm gonna go grab my address for my account. I'll just grab it here, and we're gonna look up. Okay. Okay, copied my address, put that in here. There's my OX address, right, for Telos EVM. There it is. There's my transactions. In fact, that's the 10 Telos I just did, right? There's the transaction hash. Here's the block that it's in, right? Because you can look these things up either by Telos blocks or by transaction hashes. And there's some special stuff that we had done about Telos to make that work. So here's that transaction. It's already irreversible, it says. And there's an earlier transaction I did, and this is actually a smart contract interaction. You can see from that the auxiliary data below. So we've been testing it out for a long time, and you can see all these transactions. And for the first time, we have this Block Explorer, which actually it's great to show people, but to be honest, a really great thing about this Block Explorer is it actually speeds up our development and testing. We're going to make it, this is the basic one, and we're going to make an advanced one, but I'm telling you, I'm showing you right here, the core functions that most Block Explorers do, it's doing. So I'm pretty psyched about that. EOSIO really came through. Igor did, I want to thank him because he did late nights to make sure we did this, that we have this. Real quick, I'm going to go to the Block Explorer. Oops, I can't find it. Where is no EVM? That's because I am on the main net. I want to be on the test net. Okay, so here I am on the test net. There is EVM, whoo, and here's the transactions I just did, right, seconds ago. And to show you what I mean about MetaMask sometimes being slow, I'm going to do another one, and you're going to look at it, and if MetaMask is still slow, you're going to see how much faster it actually is. So now I'm going to send some LOL tokens, because why not? And again, no gas. It'll just use my minimum amount, and let's confirm it, and then let's watch the. Oh, already done, already confirmed. Let's see. So that's how fast it actually works all the time. There it is. So that's how fast it actually works, and it's And yeah, very excited to be here on at this point in the EVM project. Okay, let's move on. So our cross-chain smart contract platform uses contract bridges. They're really fantastic. This is going to allow us to bring Telos Decide governance to Ethereum. That's really the first use case, right? So, and they'll probably be using they could use either the Decide voter mobile app or the Telos wallet to really basically have vote on proposals on their own chains, right, at very low expense and high speed and high ease. So essentially, we expect to be able to let people set up voting issues on Ethereum, for example, and to do all the voting on Telos. And then, and then when the voting is complete and tallied and the ballot is closed, only then does the final action actually get sent to the home chain, whether that's Ethereum or anyone else, any other chains. So there's really only one transaction that gets the big gas fee, right? And that's going to mean that people who don't vote on these other chains because it's expensive suddenly are going to be able to participate in governance because it's basically going to be free for them. So that improves things for everyone, right? And this is when we say, Telos is building bridges, right? This is how we are trying to improve governance on other chains, trying to give service to, from Telos to, the broad blockchain community. I really think that we're going to have something. We're going to move from the concept of blockchains to block meshes. And I haven't talked about this too much before, so you might not have heard block meshes. I've never heard anybody say it yet, but I think what a block mesh is a group of interconnected blockchains that are doing things, like that are transferring high value from Ethereum or Bitcoin, right? But using them on other chains with, maybe they're sending something around for their DeFi transactions and going somewhere else for their governance. That's a little bit of a, I think a lot of people will go to Telos for both of those, but there'll be more and more things. Maybe another chain will use ID. You could use the FIO chain, for example, for easy addressing. There's a lot of things that individual chains can use, and we will move towards this block mesh usage, right? And then eventually after that, we're going to stop having names for it because it's going to become geeky and it's going to become geeky. It's going to become something nobody really wants to, everybody uses, but nobody really needs to know about except a very small amount of people. Like TCP/IP or HTTP, the way we browse the web, and most people don't know what that is, right? And that's what we want. So we're moving in this direction. So Telos and these smart contract bridges are going to be a big piece of moving towards that next phase, the block mesh phase. So Telos Private is another product that we're putting out. It's gonna come in Q3, and this allows us to have private transactions performed on a sidechain that's connected to Telos using zero knowledge proof. This technology was actually pioneered by the DPoS project, and actually it's never really been fully deployed for a variety of reasons. So the Telos core devs are going to actually need to go in there and do some low-level coding for just a couple of new pieces of code that Block 1 basically is refused to build, but basically left the DPoS project incomplete. And it's unfortunate, right? Because they worked really hard on it. So there are actually, really sadly, a number of technologies like that that are exciting and could help people and are really, really close to ready, but that they still need a little bit of sweat to make them real world ready, right? That was exactly the situation with the great EOSIO EVM contract that Syed Jaffrey of EOS Cafe Block had won that big bounty, that $200,000 bounty from Block 1. Block 1 put that money up, but then nobody used it, right? It had been sitting around for almost a year without anyone implementing it because even though it was promising and people had a lot of hope for it, there was a lot of work, right? And so at Telos, we basically sat down because we have developers and because we have block producers who are willing to work together, we were able to, we made a list and all the things we needed to do. People got involved, and here we are. We almost have EVM going, and that's really what we're going to do the same thing with some of these other transactions. I hate to see cool tech go to waste. It's really a shame when people have worked so hard on things and they never quite get over the line to where they can be used and realize the vision. And this is a great thing about open source software, and it's also a great thing about Telos being able to take those last steps. The last steps are the tough steps, and that's why they don't get done. But we're going to pick up some of these abandoned projects. They're like diamonds on the beach, and pick them up and brush them off, and they can be amazing. We can make them work. And of course, that's not how all our projects come. A lot of things are original to us, but some of these projects are like that, and private is one of them. Okay. There's a couple more. I'm not going to go into these are further down the road. Telos Identity is going to allow you to confirm only the data that you want somebody else to be able to validate about you, without leaking more data. And at the same time, as it's used, it creates this unique individual confidence score that goes up the more and more likely it is that you are a real person. And this is a real hard challenge to solve, and this is kind of a 2-in-1 identity solution that does both things, which it needs to be, because people aren't really going to want to have 10 different identity solutions. That's probably going to happen for a while, but really that's not great. So this is going to be scheduled for Q3. We already have our work group leader selected for this, and we're moving on. Proof of location, Telos location is really cool. I mean, think about the obvious one, of course, is like package delivery. But really, I think proof of service is even bigger. Like, there are all kinds of big organizations that have to service all of this equipment. And if they don't, and something goes wrong, then, there can be huge lawsuits, right? Think about if it's like oil or natural gas equipment. I mean, there's just multitudes of these. Being able to prove on a blockchain that somebody actually was there, they didn't just scan some other thing, but not only did they scan the thing showing that they were there doing the performance of the work, but they actually had blockchain proof. That's going to be important for businesses. And for a lot of people. You can also do, environmental applications, right? Making sure that the big old growth tree that you expect at such and such a place is really there. All kinds of things like that. And of course, games and puzzles and LARPing, right? It's really, Telos location is really all for LARPing. There's a lot we can do. It's exciting. Thanks for sticking with me. I'm almost to the end of the questions, by the way. I won't bring up LARPing again. So one of the last things that Telos, the sort of the first and last thing that the Telos core devs do is support the core code, right? We do the EOSIO updates, right? EOSIO 3.0 is expected from Block 1 this year. All the Telos system contracts are going to have to be updated and tested and redeployed, perhaps. But in exchange, we're going to get the speed and scaling improvements, and often new features, right? So that's one thing we do on TCD. Another thing is when there are governance changes that are voted on, they have to be enacted, right? And of course, if we don't enact them, somebody's going to enact them, and because they've been demanded by the Telos community. So an example is that the voting proxies have just been voted out by the Telos amend process, and so we're going to go in there. It's not a huge change. We like to do these things quickly after they've been voted on, but also kind of consolidate things, so you don't have to do a lot of core changes, because every time you do it, you really need to double, triple, quadruple check the code. So there is also another thing we want to fix is, as we update this, is there's a bug in Rex that makes it so some people can't unstake their all of their recs, and it's a thing that Block One has known about for years now, and they've said they're going to fix. Now that they've eliminated that basically eliminated recs in that way on EOS, I don't think they're going to do it. So we're going to do it. I've actually gone in and I found the solution, and so we're gonna fix those. There's lots of little bugs that still can be fixed. The Telos core devs do great work. We're really killing it. But one of the things I really want to do in professionalizing the organization is to bring in full-time developers. These don't replace the people. We have a lot of developers working on the Telos core devs, but so far, that's not anyone's full-time everyday job, right? And as we professionalize Telos, we want to have people on the core devs who are experts, and they are there. We don't have to compete with them for any other jobs that they may have to do the stuff that needs to be done. That's an important way to advance Telos. That's what we're doing. The ads are out. We're already getting resumes. We are going to be able to pay competitive rates. To be honest, at the moment, at the current token price, we're going to be able to pay competitive developer rates for areas that are not United States or Western Europe or Japan. But there's a lot of countries that have a lot of great developers. We have a lot of people in EOSIO who are fantastic, and we can pay them. It's going to be a real job. And as we go forward, and as the token price rises, and as we do more, it's going to be a virtuous cycle where basically we're going to have a lot of people where Telos is their job, in marketing and everything. It's been a long way to get there. We had to bootstrap it, but that's where we're going in this professionalization of Telos. Sure, my last one, the slides get smaller and smaller because it took a lot to put this together, especially with the demos. So DeFi on Telos is really cool. I encourage you guys all to go to T-Swaps. Rory Mapstone of EOSIO, South Africa, has done amazing work there. Go check out T-Swaps. T-Starter is like a project Kickstarter. Very excited about that. When you start pairing these things together, T-Starter and T-Bonds and the DeFi things, it's really exciting. And not to tease too much, I'm not going to share it now, but next week, watch out for a big announcement. Something I've been talking about a little bit on Telos is actually going to come and to the world, and the rest of the world's going to be talking about it, and I'm pretty psyched. Okay, thanks, guys. I know it's been 45 minutes already. It's longer than I'd hoped, but I promised people I was going to answer questions that came in, and here are some questions. So this one is from Bu Young Upi. And he asks, these are real questions that I haven't really seen before, except for cutting and pasting them into this PowerPoint. All right, which specific about technology and strategy of Telos that make you believe that it will be successful, and what does Telos plan to do to attract more users in the upcoming time, and what are the ways to generate profits, revenue to maintain your project, and what is the revenue model? And how can we make it a win-win, both investor and the Telos project? Okay, great question. So the specific technology that I'm excited about is all these things I just talked about. These are this is leading technology. We are up against, if you want to try and see who our competition is, you want to look at it in those terms, our competition are much better known, much higher value chains, but they don't have the actual access to, they don't really have the goods like we have. We're already at the, when you're talking about doing location services and smart contract bridges and all these things, you've passed, these are no longer normal, normal basic web, blockchain services. We're past those. We're moving on not only to having them, but we're expanding those and making them easier to use and more attractive and simpler. And so that makes, and then at the same time, on the other end, we're pushing out new features that will probably start out geeky and a little bit hard to use, but we're going to try and make them really easy to use as quickly as possible. We're so far ahead. That's one of the things that makes me really excited. I think these ease of use issues and all kinds of things that we're trying to do. When I say we're trying to elevate Telos, I think that's gonna bring on people. How do investors generate profits and revenue? Well, two things. First of all, again, this is one of those not financial statements, forward-looking things, but I personally expect some kind of equalization between some of those really prominent projects and Telos, because when we not only have a situation where people we can say, oh yeah, it's better on Telos, but people are actually using these things, which is really close. It's already started. It's just going to become obvious. People are going to want to buy tokens in the things that they're using. So, and that's going to be Telos. So I think there's a lot of win-win, fantastic alignment between investors and the developers and people behind Telos. I mean, we're all invested in Telos heavily too, and have been for almost 3 years now. Okay, next question from Carlos Matsuo. Do you see a future where Telos can coexist with ADA ETH, or do you think one has to fold in order for the others to thrive? So thanks, great question, Carlos. If you've listened to me talk in the past, you know that I am not at all, I completely reject the idea of a one chain to rule them all future. I was just talking about a few minutes ago about block meshes, instead of block chains. I talked about our reaching out to other chains. We are definitely here to provide services to other chains in the things that we're excellent at. Everyone in the world, if you could just figure out what you're awesome at and enjoy and do that and help other people, we would have a great world and great economy. And that's, Telos is trying to do that on the sort of the blockchain level, on the corporate level. Ethereum, a lot of us came from Ethereum. And it's great. It's a great system that has amazing amount of financial buy-in, and yet it has some real problems that need to be solved, some technical problems, and they haven't to date been able to scale as quickly as they've been able to grow. Telos, ironically, has been able to scale faster than it's growing. We want to fix that. We would like them to be more aligned, and for a while, we can even afford to be able to grow faster than we scale. But it's always a problem, right? And we are in good shape for a while until people come in. I mean, there's uses of Telos that I hear about coming up that I'm thinking, wow, suddenly it's not going to be, 17 million transactions a day. It's going to be, a billion transactions a day, and we're going to have to face those challenges. So I think that ETH is going to be great. I have nothing against Cardano, by the way. I know that it troubles some people, and some people really like Cardano. The sort of the pain point for people who are involved in Telos when it comes to the question of Cardano is that it just has such an amazing, it's just basically like our inverse, right? So Cardano has very little current capacity. I mean, not capacity. It has very little current, used smart contracts and dApps and stuff like that, and yet it has the highest price you can imagine. Telos has the lowest price you can imagine, and all kinds of dApps and smart contracts and usage. So it's if we joke about it, I think about Cardano, it's only because of that, and I think the future we will definitely all sort of work together. That's my plan. All right. What's your opinion of the Telos community, and what can we do that you will like us more? I love the Telos community, and I don't think there's anything you could do that I would like you more. The Telos community has been so supportive and patient, and the best. I think it's the best community, one of the best communities out there in crypto. I also actually think that the ethic community is incredibly patient, because I've fallen behind on a couple things there. So I want to shout out to those guys and say thank you. There's a lot of crossover, by the way, but the Telos community. I mean, Telos is the community. There's no difference, no air between the two. They're the same thing. So I love it, and I love it more every day. So thanks, Akum. All right, I have one more. Okay. Kshal Jain said, I would like to know how exactly are things like EVM, dStor, Telos Private going to help the blockchain and the cash sign Telos, the Telos token. So I think over the past 54 minutes, I've probably given some good answer. I hope I've given some good answers to that. EVM, Telos Private, those specifically Telos location, those things are going to be advanced services that bring users and dApps to Telos, because we'll be probably the only one with them, and by the way, I'm sure they work even better together, right? And so you as you start chaining up these things, and of course there's Decide as well, then you can have dApps that use location and voting and smart contract bridges, right? Each of these things, it's like a really new, incredibly cool building block that people can add. So I think they're going to bring real usage. I think they're going to bring real dApps. I think that those three, EVM, Telos Private, Telos Location, probably Telos Identity, those premium services, the ones that aren't just the basic services like doing transactions, those are probably going to come with small costs. Because people need to run them and people need to do work on them outside of the basic running of Telos. What I think is that we'll be able to keep these really affordable, but still generate enough money from them that Telos can remain an inflation-free chain and still have the free basic transactions that we know and love about Telos. So I think that they actually make a financial benefit. dStor is a little different. dStor is actually from my company, GoodBlock. dStor is not really owned by Telos, and some because there's no Telos company, and Telos is made up of a lot of companies. Some of these things that we build are going to be Telos things, but some of the things that we build on Telos that we think are really core features are actually built by some company, right? So if we look at T-Swaps and T-Starter, those are both built by EOS South Africa, but they're no less a part of Telos. Telos EVM is built by the core developers and a bunch of block producers, and that's that and Telos Private, and those things are Telos proper, whatever that means. But some things like T-Swaps and Area X NFTs and those things, those are run by a specific company. And so dStor is run by is being built and run by my company. And the way it helps Telos, the main way it helps Telos, I think, is that the system is going to bring in a lot of users who have to have Telos accounts and a regular supply of new fiat currency, which is the thing that all crypto really needs, right? So basically people are going to be customers, real businesses, some of them who don't even use crypto at all, or want to save money and have better service than they're getting in their cloud storage. And so they'll go to dStor and they'll pay with their credit card or bank transfer or whatever, not having to think about any kind of cryptocurrency that's changing prices and all that. And then half of that gets every week or so gets converted directly into Telos, using standard, using the markets, right? And this is going to be an ongoing process, right? So we'll get the best deals we can, right? Because we owe that to our storage node operators. But Telos will be used to send that around to, the dStor incentivizes its storage node operators, so the best ones get the most pay. That's all going to be sent around on Telos, and so suddenly you're going to have a lot of fiat money coming into Telos from all over the world, being turned into Telos, then being distributed on Telos to these storage node operators, and then they're going to do with it what they're going to do with it. If they were gonna, even if they just converted everything back into fiat money, there would still be a lot of activity and profits, because somebody, because the, AMMs like T-swaps would be performing those swaps, and swap holders would be able to provide liquidity and be able to get rewards for that and stuff like that. That alone would be a lot. I don't think people are going to do that. I think if people are, typically what happens is some people are going to hodl some of that and use it at other times. Other people are going to find ways to build their businesses on Telos because they're already there. The hardest part is getting the fiat onto crypto in the first place. So I think it helps a lot, even though it's not a directly Telos owned thing. I guess it helps because it keeps GoodBlock in business, hopefully, and I think we've been a great force for Telos. I have to toot my own horn there, and so I think it does. Anybody in the world is going to be able to use dStor. So it's not like dStor is only available to Telos. But I think even with that, it's going to really help Telos, and I think all that helps the Telos price. Okay, that is it. I didn't even make a thank you card because this has been a long presentation. But I want to do this every quarter, at the end of the quarter, so people know what's going on with Telos. Thanks for listening. I apologize for anything I got wrong. Really excited though, and we'll see you guys in the Telos chats. All right. Thanks very, 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 very much. This has been really great.